clay's kind of stiff, so bear with me. Might take a minute to center here. Let's take this out. All right, same as before, a little bit more pressure needed. So try to get that from your body if you can. Make sure your elbows are, at least one of your elbows is secured. And bring up at least 2 cones. It's behaving a little bit better than I thought it was going to. All right, as I push this down, I'm going to push forward. I'm going to kind of pull back in the middle until my hands kind of run into each other. My hand runs into the wheel. I'm going to switch over back to my normal centering technique. Clear the clay from the bottom. Okay, make sure you're good and centered. Drop the hole. So this is a pitcher. Pitchers, I like to keep them fairly narrow if I can. The wider they are, the further out they get from, the further the liquid gets out from the center of gravity, the heavier it's going to feel when you try to pour it. I don't like to trim pitchers in particular because usually their lip, so I'm going to go down to 1/4 of an inch, usually their lip is a little higher where the spout is, so you're going to have a little bit of trouble trying to center it on the wheel and keeping it level if you want to trim it. So try to do all your trimming before you take it off of the wheel. Okay, volcano. I like to compress the lip after I do the volcano. Okay, make sure you have enough water in there. Make sure you have a groove to grab onto. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to leave a little bit of clay in the rim. Okay, with the bottle I don't leave any. The vase I leave a tiny bit. With the pitcher I'm going to leave a bit more clay in the rim, in the lip. So I'm going to stop right about there. I'm going to leave it a decent thickness there, maybe a 1/2 inch thick there. 2 or 3 times the thickness of your wall. I'm going to need some clay to pull up into a spout. So I'm leaving it there. I'm going to support on the inside. I'm going to push down and push that clay underneath my inside finger, nice and slow. The more clay you have, the more careful and deliberate you need to be. You can't really rush things as much. So I just started that pull, but I need to take my foot off of here. Okay, extend your body up and over the clay. Keep that elbow right next to your body, and then don't pull through that bulk in the rim. Okay, one more pull. And this is just a little pull, like I'm not really trying to move a whole lot of clay. I'm just trying to even it up here. I start with my elbow kind of over the center of the clay. As I get further up the cylinder, my left elbow can bend a little bit. Got a lot out of this. That's what happens when you use stiff clay. It's really hard to center, but you can get all that clay in the cylinder. Okay, that's all the trimming I'm gonna do. All right, I'll compress the walls. When I compress, again, I just hold my rib in my hand like that, so it's like an extension of the side of my index finger there. My thumb goes in the hole. I try to make my hand as small as I can to get it in the cylinder. And then this one I keep fairly vertical, but I flex it a little bit so that it is pretty much flat. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but and I'm going to stop that inside rib right below the rim so I don't smash out that clay. Clay that I left up there is very important. So my right hand is actually kind of pushing forward just a little bit. My left hand is pulling back towards me. As I go into the cylinder, I used to have to kind of extend my body and get that elbow a little bit more over the top. All right, it's a good habit just to get that water out of the bottom before you start doing anything. All right, and like I mentioned before, I don't like to put too much shape into my pitcher, like a Kool-Aid. Think of like a Kool-Aid pitcher, how big and fat those things are. Because of how far out it would be from your hands, you're gonna have to use two hands to hold on to the thing. So I'm not gonna bring out the shape too far. Plus, the more shape you have, the harder it is going to be to get the liquid out of it. So I'm just gonna kind of leave my belly at about 1/3 of the way up. Kind of give it a little bit of an inward curve here. I might go back down to the bottom and just shape it a little bit more down here. So when I do that, I'm flipping my rib over to get the proper shape. So for down here, I use that shape. For up here, I'm using this shape. So it's this, I mean, it's the same shape, I'm just flipping it upside down. And for those of you who couldn't see what I just did, it'll be on the video. All right, so I'm gonna do a little bit of shaping up here. And push this out. This is more of an aesthetic decision than a functional decision. I just like to have this sort of defined lip. All right, that inward curve. So it's a subtle shape. It's nothing too crazy. Oh, can I borrow some of these triangle rib? I always get the triangle rib.
No.
You don't have one? Can somebody grab me one, please? Oh, you know what else I need? A chamois. Do you know what a chamois is? It's that piece of leather. It's like in the top left one underneath where that, basically, yeah. It looks like kind of like sometimes it looks like bacon. Yeah. Thanks. Okay, so I'm gonna take the chamois. It's basically just a piece of leather. I'm gonna put it into the bucket, in the water, and let it hydrate a little bit. In the meantime, I'm gonna do the foot on my pitcher. I always do the foot before I do the spout because I like to hold on to the rim just a little bit as I push this in. That way it doesn't start moving off center. So I'm just gonna push this in a little bit, and this is kind of a sharp one, so it's shaving a little clay off, and that's okay. We'll just have to collect that and get it off there. There we go. So just pushing that in, gonna lift it up. And then smooth it out. So just finishing that foot before I do the spout so that I can actually still hold on to the rim. Okay. Just push that shape in just a little bit just to kind of finish that off. Bring that shape up and through. All right, looks pretty good. So the shape, when I pour it, because the mass is down here, my handle is going to be right about here. The steady shape and just kind of like the steady line up to the spout will kind of help when I'm pouring. There's no obstructions, I guess, is the point that I'm trying to make. The little thing on the inside. Make sure when you're reaching in there, you reach in with the wheel moving so that whatever happens round. Oh, I didn't really get that out of there. There we go. Okay. All right, so now for the spout. I have not cut it off. If you cut it off, it might move around on you a little bit. The spout is going to be, I'm going to start out the spout a little bit bigger than you think you need it to be. I'm actually going to do maybe about a quarter of the space on this rim is going to be dedicated to sort of creating the spout. Now the spout's only going to be maybe about the size of my thumb, but I want to kind of get the rest of the clay kind of moving into the spout a little bit, kind of taper it in. All right, I work on the opposite side of the clay from me. The reason why I work on the opposite side is because my fingers are shaped that way. My fingers are kind of round and my thumb kind of fits into that little pocket. So it's kind of like that, okay? That works over here. It doesn't work here. If I try to do that over here, it's gonna bend the rim the wrong direction and it's kind of like bending metal back and forth. So on this side, my fingers are the right shape. So I'm going to use kind of like the soft part of my thumb and the soft part of my fingers here. And it's kind of like almost like pulling a handle. I'm going to pull straight up. And actually on this wheel, I can turn this to neutral so I can move the thing back and forth here. So I'm going to do maybe a 3-inch wide section here, and I'm pulling straight up. Quick pulls, like pulling a handle. Moving this thing back and forth. If you can't move it back and forth with the wheel, maybe you just kind of move your hand back and forth. But I kind of like just moving the thing and keeping my hand in the same spot. So I'm basically just kind of going up, like just kind of straight up, and it's like an arm movement. Don't use your wrist. If you use your wrist, you're going to get this like pelican gullet kind of thing happening, and it'll probably rip. So just kind of go straight up and off of the end. You're going to create kind of a sharp lip, and that's okay. But you can see it's kind of tapered up. It doesn't just kind of all of a sudden appear. It's sort of flowing into the spout. The shape is flowing into it. I'm going to get rid of a little slip there. All right, so now that I have this kind of sharp, this is thinned out to about the thickness of the rest of the piece. I'm going to take my chamois. I don't want it to be like dripping wet, but I want to have water in it. Switch my wheel back on. Get it going real slow. Okay, and I'm just going to drape the chamois over the top. Let the chamois kind of smooth it. And then as I get to the rim, I'm going to let the chamois kind of ride up the spout. Do it once or twice. Okay, so now I can see the shape of the spout. I do have a little bit more clay that I can pull up into the spout here. Okay, maybe go over it one more time. Again, I'm just sort of letting it kind of ride over that surface there. Back and forth. Okay, so now I guess technically that's a spout. It's not finished though. You could pour water out of that, but it would just kind of go all over the place. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some direction to it. I might squeeze this in just a little bit. I'm gonna put my fingers on either side of the spout. So my left hand, index and thumb. I'm gonna go down inside the gullet here with my index finger, my right hand. I'm using the side of my finger. I'm gonna kind of wiggle it back and forth and then drop my elbow down and create that shape. So I have a nice 45-degree angle right here. That's really important for pouring. If it's not 45 degrees, you'll get drips down there. One last thing, I like it to be fairly defined, so I'm just gonna go in there and maybe kind of bring these edges in just so it has a really nice curve going around there. And I can get rid of some of these irregularities later. Let's see. Bring that out a little bit more. All right, that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna go clean it up. And that is a picture. Thanks.